Hello, this is Marcotronic. Welcome to the very first Blender Plaza video quick tip. I remember very well when I opened Blender for the first time, I was totally confused by its default viewport navigation setup and the way you select items. By default, you have to select items with the right mouse button, whereas the standard way of selecting things in other 2D or 3D programs is using the left mouse button. Well, there are people who defend the way Blender works with its default behavior, but there are also many people complaining, and I, for one, don't like it either. Also, by default, Blender's viewport navigation style is very different from all 3D programs I've used before. Many programs share a preset, at least, that lets you select a commonly used navigation style, and that's the Maya style navigation. I've been using this in Maya, of course, but also in other programs like Cinema 4D or Modo. And it's rotating the 3D view with the Alt key and the left mouse button, move the view with Alt and middle mouse button, and dolly or zoom with Alt plus right mouse button. When you look into the Blender user preferences under File, User Preferences, and Input, there are two categories of presets. The first ones are the interaction presets, and the second ones are the key configuration presets. In both of them, there is a preset called Maya. If you choose Maya only in the interaction presets, you will basically only get a change in selection behavior, right versus left mouse button, but you won't be able to navigate in the viewport like in Maya. Navigation is still the default Blender way. If you also choose Maya in the key config presets, you will get Maya-style navigation in the 3D viewport. But there's one big problem. Well, if it's a problem for you, you also lose all the typical Blender shortcuts and get most of the Maya shortcuts instead. This may be what you want, but I highly recommend using the default Blender keyboard shortcuts, as usually all the tutorials out there and the manual refer to those shortcuts. Unfortunately, there is no Maya-style navigation-only preset, but you can set it up yourself. Here's how you do it. Let me just reset Blender to its factory settings and open the User Preferences and the Input tab. For the interaction presets, choose Maya. That's fine. Leave the key config setting preset the default Blender one. Open the 3D view and the 3D view global section. For rotate view, just left-click the light gray field. Now hold the Alt key on your keyboard and click the left mouse button. Next, move view. Click the field, hold the Alt key, and click the middle mouse button. Last, for dolly view, click the field, hold Alt, click the right mouse button. We're gonna change one more option soon, but let's close the dialog for now. You may have tried that before and everything seems to work fine and you're able to navigate in Maya style, but only as long as you are in object mode. If you change into edit mode by pressing the Tab key and try to navigate, you won't be able to rotate the view anymore with Alt and the left mouse button. It actually took me a few hours to find out what's going on here. And you might have run into this problem too. So here's the reason and how to get rid of this issue. Let me set the viewport to wireframe and cut some loops into this cube. Control R, mouse wheel, click, click, and deselect the loops by pressing A. I change into edge mode by pressing Ctrl Tab, E. If you select an edge with the left mouse button, you just select that single edge. If you now want to select a whole loop of edges, you can do this by holding the Alt key and selecting an edge with the left mouse button. Does that ring a bell? Alt plus left click? That's exactly our shortcut for rotating the 3D viewport we've just set. And that's exactly the reason why it doesn't work in edit mode. Blender's got a double assignment for that shortcut. Unfortunately, Blender didn't show any warnings when we assigned the same shortcut twice. Well, we'd like to keep our Alt left-click shortcut for navigation, so we have to assign a different shortcut for the edge loop selection. Open the user prefs again and find the options for 3D View Mesh. Let's have a look at the Loop Select options. Open both of them. The first one is for the basic edge loop selection, and it's assigned to pressing the Select mouse button, which is the left one in our case, plus the Alt key. The second shortcut is for toggling that selection, and it's almost the same, but with a Shift key in addition. My first idea was changing the shortcut to Control plus Alt plus click or press, but it's already been assigned to Edge Ring selection. So what I just did for my setup was changing the basic edge loop selection to double click plus the Alt key. I also tried doing the same for the toggling option, but unfortunately that doesn't seem to work in our constellation, so I just leave it the way it is. It won't conflict with our Alt left-click navigation setup, as it's using the Shift key in addition. Alright, now don't forget to save your user settings before you close Blender, and you can also export the key configurations you've just made in case you need them later, for example on a different computer. You can then simply import them. If you close the Prefs window, you can see that you're now able to navigate in the viewport using Alt and the left mouse button. Edge loop selection now works with Alt plus double click. You can toggle the edge loop selection with a shortcut we didn't change, Alt plus Shift and the left mouse button. And that's all. You have 3D Viewport Maya style navigation without affecting the default Blender shortcuts, with one little exception, the edge loop selection. Alright, if you liked this first little video, please don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel, visit blenderplaza.com, follow me on Twitter and Facebook. Thanks a lot, bye and see you next time.